Hi everyone, I'm Peyton from Rackets Runners, and today we're going to take a look at the new ON Cloudmonster 3. If you'd like to stay up to date with all of our new shoe reviews, please take a moment to subscribe before we dive in. So first, let's talk about ON as a brand. You might have seen them walking around the streets because they have a very distinctive cushioning system along the bottom of the shoe. Whereas most shoe brands will use a traditional foam cushioning system, ON uses these hollow spaces in the shoe that compress, almost like stepping on a garden hose, to provide cushioning by allowing the space to compress rather than foam compressing. ON as a brand has created a lot of buzz in both of the casual and the running shoe world because although all of the shoes of theirs that we carry are sportswear, they also look really nice too and don't have that traditional runner look, and I think look a little bit more stylish. So this is the Cloudmonster 3. How it compares to the Cloudmonster 2 is it upgraded on two major categories. One is the cushioning system. They upgraded from the Cloudmonster 2's dual CloudTech cushioning system to a triple CloudTech cushioning system on the Cloudmonster 3. This triple layer of CloudTech allows there to be a little bit more cushioning with each step as compared to the Cloudmonster 2. In addition to the triple layer of CloudTech, the Cloudmonster 3 also has a speed plate in it made out of nylon, which I'll go into a little bit more later. Another upgrade to the Cloudmonster 3 is that they improved the toe box of the shoe and the fit of the shoe. Fit-wise, the complaints that I would hear about the Cloudmonster 2 was that it was too roomy in the toe box, which is not usually a complaint that I hear when people try on shoes. So ON greatly improved that in the Cloudmonster 3, and it has a more fitted feel to the upper while still providing room for your toes to spread out a little bit more naturally while you run. So some pretty simple updates to the shoe, just an improved cushioning system and a better fit along the upper. Just like the Cloudmonster 2, the Cloudmonster 3 has a 6mm heel drop. If you're not familiar with this term, a heel drop is how high your heel is above your toes. When you're barefoot, it's a 0 heel drop. If you're wearing a high heel, it's a very high heel drop. So in this shoe, your heel is 6mm above your toe. In the running community, this is important because if some people have Achilles issue and stuff, they might want a higher heel drop to take tension off of their Achilles. Some people prefer a more minimalist style shoe. Some people prefer a lower heel drop. Like the Cloudmonster 2, the Cloudmonster 3 has 35mm of stack height in the back of the shoe and 29mm of stack height in the front of the shoe, leading there to be a 6mm heel drop in this shoe. Fit-wise, I found that this shoe fits really true to size. I'm normally a 7.5 standard width in my shoes, and the 7.5 standard width fit perfectly for me on these shoes. I had enough room in my toes so my toes didn't hit the front and I had room to swell. I also found that the shoe fit really well in the back. My heel wasn't slipping even if I didn't crank my laces super tight. I personally don't like wearing my shoelaces super tight because I find, especially as my feet swell, it cuts into the top of my foot and it hurts. So I prefer to leave my laces as loose as possible while still being secure in the shoe. Didn't feel like I ran into any issues with this. The tongue is also, you can't tell probably in the video, but the tongue is attached into the shoe along the sides here, so it doesn't move while you're running. So there's no tongue slippage, which is also nice. And again, the upgrades that they did to the fit of the shoe, this felt really nice. It didn't feel too roomy and it didn't feel constricting either. So this is a neutral shoe. What that means is that if you don't pronate, this shoe is great for you. If you do pronate and you have an insert or an orthotic, the insert of the shoe comes out very easily so you can put your support in. So this is very adaptable to all foot types. So how did it feel while I was running? I've taken this out on a couple runs, and I've also worn it all day, walking a ton, standing up all day at work. Typically, I prefer a more traditional feeling cushioning system. I like a higher cushioned but firmer shoe. I was pleasantly surprised by this shoe as well because it is a nice firm shoe. If you're looking for a plush shoe, you might want to take a look at ON's Cloudsurfer or Cloudsurfer Max or Cloudsurfer Next. Those have a little bit more of that cushiony feel, while the Cloudmonster feels more like a daily trainer and is a little bit stiffer and firmer, which I personally like. I wasn't aware that there was a plate in this shoe until after I ran on it, and I started doing a little bit more research for this video. And it's interesting because while I was running, I noticed that it was harder in the front of the shoe, and while I was running, I remembered it was a very similar feeling to how some of the other carbon and nylon plated running shoes that I've run in felt like in my forefoot. I'm a little sensitive to plates, so if you are as well, keep that in mind for this shoe. I only noticed that for the first couple kilometers. After the first couple kilometers, my foot was all warmed up, I was warmed up, and it was a super comfortable ride. It's also it's pretty stable for a running shoe as well. So this would be a really great daily trainer. It would be great if you want something that you can wear in the gym as well because it's not as squishy as a traditional foam cushioning system. I think this would be a really great shoe for people who like a more like the older style of running shoes that are less foamy. I have a lot of customers who, when they come into the store and they see the wall of running shoes, their initial reaction is like, wow, they're getting so high or they're getting so big. This is a great alternative to those shoes because it does feel like the more old school type of runners. This category of shoe is a great daily trainer. I think you can kind of do it all with it. You can pick up the pace because it's a little bit more firmer and it has that plate in it. It's well cushioned, so it'll protect you on your shorter runs and your longer runs. You can pick up the pace if you have more of a tempo run. And it's also a great looking shoe, so you can use it as an everyday or daily wearing shoe as well. I wore this at a high intensity interval training class where you do 20 minutes of running on the treadmill and then 20 minutes of weighted workouts. And this was super nice because it was protective enough when I was running on the treadmill, and it felt pretty stable and grounded while I was doing the weight workouts as well. Again, although this shoe technically has a plate in it, I don't think I would necessarily put it in the plated shoe categories like all of the elite running or racing shoes like the New Balance Supercomp Elite or the Nike Alpha Fly, just because this is built to be a daily trainer and it didn't feel like it has the poppiness and cushioning combination of a racing shoe, but it's a phenomenal daily trainer. So overall, this shoe is a great workhorse do-it-all shoe. It can take you to the gym, it looks nice on your walks, it can take you on your runs, you can pick up the pace for tempo runs. This is truly a great do-it-all shoe for those of you who prefer a little bit less cushioning or a more firm shoe, like the previous versions of shoes from like 6 years ago. So what are some other models by other brands that are comparable to this shoe or in the same category? I'm gonna start this off with the caveat that I find this question to actually be pretty hard because now that I've worn and run around with this, I find this kind of hard to compare to other brands because it fills such a unique category that people have been asking for. Everybody who comes into the store and they're like, I want something that feels like an older like some of the older models of running shoes, or I don't want something that feels super squishy or has a super high stack height. And I'm saying that it feels great, and this has a decent sized stack height. It's 35 millimeters in the back. That's not nothing to shy away from, but it doesn't feel like you're 35 millimeters off the ground, and it doesn't feel squishy and unstable. So I would say probably the closest feeling shoe to this would be the Brooks Ghost 17, because although that's a traditional foam cushioning system, it's a bit firmer. So the Cloudmonster 3 and the Brooks Ghost 17 would be two really good shoes to try on together and see which one feels better. There's not really anything else I can think of that feels the same firmness-wise, but if you're looking for a daily trainer that does it all, the New Balance 880 would be a good comparison, the Mizuno Wave Rider, the Asics Cumulus. All the models I listed are normal stack height running shoes, which is still higher than the shoes from, 5 years ago. Those shoes would all be a very good comparison to this shoe. So again, to sum it all up, the Cloudmonster 3 is a neutral, do-it-all, firm-feeling running shoe. Thanks for sticking around. If you want to try them on, come visit us in store, or if you want to check them out online, visit us at racketsrunners.ca.